Honkai Star Rail just announced a part 2 of the Fate collab, and I cannot be more excited to share with you guys everything that we know about it today. From new characters to freebies and all sorts of really cool lore, this collab could be amazing this time around. And I already enjoyed the characters last time, so. With that said, my name is Braxophone, you can call me Brax, and I'm gonna go over everything you need to know about the Fate collab part 2, and even go over some of Fate collab part 1 in case you guys are new. Let's get into it. So this is Gilgamesh. There were 2 characters announced. We got Rin Tohsaka, which I'll talk about in a moment. She's so pretty, man. And we got Gilgamesh as well. Gilgamesh, if you guys haven't seen the Fate series, this is absolutely one of the biggest, most fan favorite characters in the entire verse. His head is way up here, but he's also wicked strong. A little bit of Gilgamesh lore. Now, I'm not like a super huge Fate lore head. I probably don't know everything that some of you guys know, but I'll give you the basic rundown. Essentially, all of these circles right behind him that I'm circling with my mouse, these are basically portals to his armory, and he has in his armory every conceivable treasure within the world, and he's able to use those as weapons at any time and like fire them out of here. So he also has this other weapon called Ea, which is basically a giant, I mean, it kind of looks like a sword. Yeah, sword of rupture. This thing, he doesn't like using it unless it's an opponent that he thinks is like, he really has to use it against. I mean, it certainly looked like he was having fun against Enkidu in Fate Strange Fake, but in some of the other Fate stuff, you'll see him be pretty reluctant to pull it out, only pull it out when it's absolutely necessary. So his ego really doesn't like him having to use the best weapon in his arsenal, because then he has to acknowledge that the other person is actually good at fighting and actually a threat to him. So I don't know. I just think he's a really cool character. He's also our glorious king, my glorious king. He should be your glorious king as well. He's an absolutely fantastic character. This gives the impression of a villain, but he is absolutely a hero in some ways and a villain to other people in other ways. Just as a note here too for Gilgamesh, I would anticipate as a destruction character, he also could spend a lot of skill points. If you guys are familiar with Dan Heng in Baider Lune, he could be similar, where the more skill points you spend, the more weapons and the wider his armory actually gets before he just starts shooting everything at you. He could also use the Chains of Heaven as well. So, you know, I could see either one of those happening. If you've watched Fate Grand Order as well, you'll get a lot more backstory, and it's actually going to be relevant here. But I'm a really big fan of this design. It looks like they took sort of his caster design with the pants, and then rather than giving him full armor, they showed his entire torso off, because why not, right? But then you still have like the gilded trim on everything. So I think it looks really cool. I'm glad they went with the spiked hair as well. Now, he is an electric destruction character. I personally thought he'd be erudition, just because when I think of his armory being used as a weapon, I think of 5 target damage, widespread, just endless volley of weapons. But I don't think that means he has to be erudition. Of course, there are lore implications of being erudition, like, you know, being a scholar or a mage or whatever it may be. And though he does have a caster form in Fate Zero and Unlimited Blade Works, he is an archer. So destruction, I do think also fits with his ego and stuff. The electric, I think, just has to do with Ea as well, but they put some lightning in the background here too. So either way, man, I think super cool character. Now, I want to show you guys this little bit over here. On the tweet, there's a little bit of lore. It says, Stellaron, my treasure. When you reach the end of your journey, I shall seal you within the deepest depths of my treasury in the safest place of all. That said, your trailblaze shall endure for a long time yet, reaching even beyond the ultimate horizon of my own foresight. But this is the really cool stuff. The king of heroes from the dawn of human history, hailing from a world beyond the stars, possessing a nature 2/3 divine and 1/3 mortal, he claims a natural-born prerogative to rule over all of creation. Laughing out loud today, as always, right up until getting dragged into another world by some adversarial goddess. This time, he will once again reclaim everything that is rightfully his as king. Original concept artist, this is Takashi Takeuchi. So this bit, the until getting dragged into another world by some adversarial goddess. If you've watched Fate Grand Order, or if you have played Fate Grand Order, you know this guy always refers to them as like goddess derogatory, and I think it's actually really funny that he says by some adversarial goddess. I think this is actually an implication of Rin being the master of Gilgamesh in this, which I think could be really funny, because in Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, she is Archer's master, and then Gilgamesh calls Archer a faker, right? And so now they would be like basically switching roles, and if he was her servant in this fake Holy Grail war, it would make sense. And if you go over here, the contract is complete. Relax, I'm not one for strict hierarchies. Well, not for most people anyways. Got that, my servant. So the whole thing is, if you have Gilgamesh, a guy who is the king of heroes, and then you have Rin saying, well, I'm not really one for strict hierarchies, it sounds like these two could be linked. And I also think that there's another implication here, because they mentioned the goddess. So if you zoom in on Rin's design, you can actually see that there is the Ishtar earring here. Now, I don't think this necessarily means that the earring originated from this, but they did take a design from Fate Grand Order from Ishtar and put it onto Rin here in this earring. So that implies a couple of things, and we're going to read the rest of Rin's lore tidbits here for the HSR verse. But one of the things that it implies is maybe Gilgamesh recognizes that earring from whatever timeline he was in with Fate Grand Order, here. Again, I'm not super savvy on all of the FGO lore. I'm not gonna be the top guy for FGO lore. I'm just gonna be a guy who likes Fate, who also likes Rin and has watched them all and played a little bit of the game. So either way though, I think it's really cool. She also has her pendant here, which is dope. And I think that the earring could be indicative of him thinking that, oh, wait, this is just Ishtar, bro. Like, some adversarial goddess. But yeah, no, I could be wrong. Maybe he gets dragged in. Maybe the story goes a completely different direction. Either way, the good news about Gilgamesh is that he is actually 100% free if you choose him. You can choose him or Archer. This is sick because Gilgamesh is like a top 3 characters of all time in Fate for me, right? So this guy being free is amazing. Both he and Rin would be making sales. I think obviously Rin's gonna make a little bit more because, you know, waifu tax or whatever. But I think Gil being free is an absolute W for everybody. Archer was free. He's still meta to this day because of the sparkle buffs. And I will talk about Archer and Saber a little bit for those of you guys who are new to this, but everything involving Gilgamesh here is super cool. I'm really glad that he's free. You can choose either one of these characters. So if you did miss Archer and you like him better, you can pick him up. He is meta, but hopefully Gilgamesh will be as good as Archer, man. I would really love to see this guy just be an absolute force for free-to-play players, and I cannot wait to pick him up. He's free from version 4.4 to 4.6. So if you are thinking about starting an account, or if you have an account and haven't logged in a while, I do recommend logging in at least once to pick him up. Let's talk about Rin now. This is the most exciting thing I have had all year, I think. This is genuinely incredible. So she mentioned the contract is complete. Relax, I'm not one for strict hierarchies, not for most people anyways. Got that, my servant. So here's a bit more of the lore for Rin, and this will give us a timeline of where she's from. Hailing from a world beyond our universe where magic and magecraft coexist, this young mage tirelessly hones her skills. She's the 6th head of the Tohsaka family, a prestigious lineage of Fuyuki City mages. We're gonna land at Planet Arcadia, and she's gonna be like, is this Fuyuki? Currently studying under a renowned master at the Clock Tower who has deep ties to the Holy Grail War, hopping across dimensions and planes just to finish an internship assignment. And a voice crack there. So she's on an internship, but this is the canon Rin. She's actually not a summon. She's not a summon here. This is like actual Rin from the Fateverse. Huh? Where am I? Why isn't there any magical energy here at all? The Holy Grail War? I'm saved. Sorry, just gonna borrow this. So there's a couple things to her design here. First off, she is matching Archer's design. I'll pull up Archer's design real quick just so you guys can see it. If we take a look at Archer's design and her design, they did give her kind of the black top with the open jacket, and they gave him sort of a similar thing. So the black top, a little bit of an open jacket there. It'll be cool to see if these guys have any interactions. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of what they did with the design here. Their color palettes match perfectly, and I think that's great. You should watch Fate Stay Night. If you haven't, you will understand a little bit more about that. But overall, big fan. This sword, though, is actually something that I wanted to point out. This is the jeweled sword, Zeltrach, which it might be Zeltrach. I might have mispronounced it. It's been a while since I've heard it. But this is basically, this is the FGO page for it. But it's in Heavensfeel. Heavensfeel is another route of Fate Stay Night, and you can watch it if you want to see her actually use it. I was surprised to see it here, but because it mentioned that she's on internship and she's at the Clock Tower, this happens after the events of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, which means she would still have the sword. Maybe just nowadays she's actually using it, or she's able to use it. Again, she did use it in Heavensfeel, but here now it looks like she's ready to use it. So I was a little bit confused by her element and her path. Her path is erudition, and the reason I was confused is not because I think that it doesn't fit her as a mage and a scholar, but I felt like it was weird because usually erudition characters are 5 target damage, and usually destruction characters are like up to 3. They usually do like more blast. They can have whatever the game decides to give them, right? There's definitely people who step outside those realms, but I was like, okay, Gilgamesh definitely has a wider AoE range than Rin here, right? But if we think about it from the lore implications, she's literally studying at university. She's a mage. She's very smart, very smart tactician, and she's good with magic, right? I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, she threw some magic gems. Maybe that's her skill. She just throws out magic gems. It does AoE damage. But I was kind of hoping that if she was going to be a DPS, that she would be a little bit more focused than AoE, because I am worried she'll become a pure fiction bot, which is a game mode that I don't play as much. So personally, I'd prefer if we didn't get a pure fiction bot, but maybe that's not the case. That might just be a little bit doomer of me. Either way, she is an erudition, and we do have characters that are erudition that step outside of those bounds a little bit. Like maybe she could work with the Herda as a sub DPS. That could be really cool, and honestly fitting considering like what Herda actually is. And then we also have her on Quantum, which is again matching with Archer here, who is her servant in Fate Stay Night. So honestly, guys, I'm a pretty big fan. This is going to be a bit older Rin. You can probably tell by some of the design choices that, you know, she's a little bit older in this, but that's really cool because we finally get a look at Rin past where the university portion of it is actually at. And I'm a really big fan of that. I think it's cool. Now, she is not going to be free. If you do want her, you're going to have to save up for her. Her power level may be lower than Gilgamesh's if we go off of the last Fate collab Part 1, because what happened was Archer was better than Saber in Fate Collab Part 1, and he's still better, and it's kind of crazy. I really hope that's not the case. I really hope that, you know, it feels like Rin is a premium unit who's keeping up with all the other DPS in the game, but we'll see. I was kind of expecting her to be like maybe a Harmony character because she shares her magic circuits or her mana with Shiro, so I kind of thought, okay, maybe she'll be like Saridra or something where she'll give you extra attacks using her magic circuit. Maybe she could apply Archer's effect where he gets multiple attacks in a row to another character. Like, that could be really cool. But it does look like she might actually be doing damage as an erudition, which I'm cool with, man. I would love to make entire teams focus around this character. That sounds good to me. But yeah, so these are the 2 new characters in the Fate collab. However, there is the old Fate collab that is still sticking around. You can still get Saber and Archer if you prefer. If you're a Fate fan and you like Saber, unfortunately, she has fallen behind a lot of the newer DPS characters, but she can be pretty fun still. I think she's a very fun character if you don't care about beating endgame and stuff, and you're kind of just like, oh, I just want to whimsy pull and collect all the characters or whatever you want to do. Saber's pretty fun for that. And I will say, as someone that E6 Saber, I'm still having a lot of fun with her. I think she's a really cool character, especially because she can just spam Excalibur. She shouldn't be able to do that. Like, I feel like that's like illegal, but she is unironically just able to spam Excalibur with Sunday and with E6. So now Archer still is a tier 0 unit, and if you are still looking just for the strongest meta value, it is highly possible and likely that Archer will still be a very powerful character. But with that said, maybe Gilgamesh, maybe Rin will actually switch it up a little bit. That could be a really good time. That could be really exciting. Also, I just noticed this, but a little Easter egg for you guys. Okay, let me go over here to this little Easter egg. I think it's so funny. Got a little cat right there. Just a little guy, just a little cat chilling right there. Anyways, we haven't had any light cones revealed for them yet. That'll probably be closer to when they actually come out. But last time on the 1.0 collab, if you spent enough pulls, you could get the signature light cone of the free character. So they might do a similar thing again with Gilgamesh, where they give you his signature light cone for free if you do enough pulls. I haven't seen anything announced about it, so I'm going to just assume nothing for now. But it is a possibility. We could be surprised. This collab will start on July 24th. If you guys are interested in watching me pull E6 of literally every Fate character, I will be doing that when this part 2 comes around. We will be E6ing every Fate character available, and I'll be giving away some Rins. I might even give away an E6 Rin. We ball. We're gonna roll with it. It's gonna be a good time. That's about everything I got for you guys. Let me know if there's any like really cool lore that I missed that you want to share with the rest of the comment section. No need to be a dick about it. We're all here for a good time. All right. I'll catch y'all later. Follow twitch.tv/Braxophone if you want to see all those polls, and I'll see you next time.